The second coming sounds really mysterious to those in the spiritual circle, and I say this because I don't hear many people talking about it. Neville talked about it. He called it the birth from above. It happened to him some 30 years later after his first spiritual awakening. That is the second coming. I know of one other person that I've spoken to over a Zoom call that has had this happen to them. And I shouldn't say hasn't happened to them. It's a natural occurrence spiritually. After you have one spiritual awakening, you're going to have a second one, although you don't know it, and nothing in the world could prepare you for the second one. It is very profound and very revealing. It's revelation after revelation after revelation after revelation for a period of time, maybe some 3.5 years. One other person that I do know has spoken about it is AI Joel S. Goldsmith. I did a deep dive on Joel S. Goldsmith back in the day when I was seeking. I think that the AI generated version will give you an idea and help you understand second spiritual awakening and the second coming and how it ties in and all that. But it's not authentic. It's not real. It's AI generated. It is someone hiding behind the curtain, pretending to be a wizard, using Joel S. Goldsmith's voice to kind of fabricate a Joel S. Goldsmith lecture. That's exactly what's going on. Neville Goddard, as I said, talked about it. He called it the birth from above. He's absolutely right, because there's a mystical experience that comes with it should you be privileged to be aware and have it happen to you. It is the discovery of a babe wrapped in swaddling clothes. It is a very profound, insightful revelation that will take place in your life that will confirm that this is the second coming. In the world, the second coming is a story, a mythological story told from the platforms of organized religion, of one man separated from all the rest of us. We are not his equal at all, whatsoever. None whatsoever are we his equal, even though he told us we are his equal. We are not his equal. This one man from 2,000 years ago, from the podiums of organized religion, will come back with his specially crafted spaceship and whisk us off to Never Never Land. That is what you're hearing, that he's coming back, he's coming back. Cults have been based around this. He's coming back, and people have some sort of definitive timeline and date when he's supposed to come. And when he doesn't come, you're supposed to kill yourself and off yourself. The foolishness of the world, that is the amnesia. That is the sleepwalk. That is the drug that is given to you to take to keep you obedient and a servant to the organized religions of the world. Do they have some sort of misconstrued understanding of the second coming? I truly believe it. Do they understand what the second coming really is? I believe some of them actually do. But they're manipulative. They're wolves in sheep's clothing. They're snakes slithering around everywhere, knowing the truth, but because knowing they can benefit from you and line their pockets from you and hold you hostage to a fear that is not real, then they will work their magic and they will work their sleight of hand before you to convince you that one person who is greater than you are, greater than anybody in the whole world, is going to come back and take you off. And that person is going to look like this. Although there is not a single description of this long-haired, bearded person that we have in the world of amnesia. I guess, you know what? It was an appealing picture, depending how you look at it. Some pictures are depicted in a way of where he's like hanging up on a cross with a little bikini on him and whatnot, and it's a really sad pose. I guess that's to attract the sad people, the weak people. Others have him looking very glamorous, very beautiful, perfectly, brushed hair, a finely combed beard, not a hair out of place, eyes blue as the sky, seductive, beautiful. And others have him looking like he's the poorest man in the world. And yet you are told in the Bible, or it is written, I shouldn't say you are told, because you probably haven't gotten around to looking in the Bible to see what it says, where you would understand me saying you are told in the Bible. Maybe one day you will investigate it and you will discover for yourself that this nondescript person somehow has a description. And this is what he looks like. Whether he's appealing to the sad people, whether he's appealing to the homeless, whether he's appealing to the beautiful and the glamorous, this is what he looks like. There is no description of him anywhere in the Bible. You see in the New Testament what the authors, a couple of authors have written about him, where they come up to him and say, "Lord, Lord, Lord." In that day, people will come up to me and say, "Lord, Lord, did we not cast out devils in your name? Did we not heal the sick? Did we not do this? Did we not feed the homeless?" And he will say, "Get away from me. I never knew you." And then there's another part that says, I was in jail and you didn't visit me. I was hungry and you didn't feed me. I was sick and you didn't heal me. I was this and you didn't do it for me. All of that is leading you and showing you that everyone in the whole world is Jesus Christ. There is nothing but God in the world. Everyone is Jesus Christ. It is not one single man separated from all of humanity that is Jesus Christ. Humanity itself is the Son of God, is the Christ of God, walking to the understanding and awakening of the Jesus and the Christ together, having both Jesus and Christ in you, and recognizing the Jesus Christ that you are in the world. You see these outlines and these pointing of the finger of these people that come up and say, "Didn't we in your name do this? Didn't we in your name?" He says, "I never knew you." I never knew you because they didn't know themselves. They didn't know that Jesus Christ is in them. They didn't realize that the power that was working through them is God, and they still referred to an external God. That's why you are told, "I never knew you. Get away from me. I never knew you," because you didn't know yourself. You used the creative power and didn't recognize it was God working through you. And then you turned around and you said he has a devil, he has a demon. You used the creative power, then you came up to an external figure and you worshiped that external figure as if they were the only one. And you said, "Didn't we do this in your name? And didn't we do that in your name?" I didn't know you because you didn't do it in your name. You did not have the awakening of Jesus Christ in you. You used the creative power that's available to every single person in the world, and then you turned around and you looked at an external Jesus Christ. How I want to tie all this in, and by me saying all this stuff, is in the second coming, you will recognize this. You will identify with the Jesus Christ that you are. It does not yet appear what we should be in John's letter, but we do know that when he appears, we shall be just like him. And when he appears is the second coming, is the second coming. The first one is an awakening. It is a union with God. And then some period of time passes. For me, it was 30 years. For Neville, it was 30 years. For my friend that I had the conversation with on the Zoom call, it was 40 years. For you, it may be 30 years. It may be 20 years. I don't know. I just, by the examples, and they're very, very few. There's only 2 or 3 people who have left examples of this for us. It's been between 30 and 40 years. And 40 lines up with the Old Testament of Moses and the timeline that, that you're given in the Old Testament. And 30 lines up with the New Testament where they say he was about the age of 30 years old, which means he could have been 27, 28, around there, but he was close to 30 years old. He was about the age of 30 years old. It does not yet appear what we shall be, but we do know when he appears, we shall be just like him. Is the second coming, is the birth from above spoken of in John chapter 3. You must be born from above. Unless you are born from above, you cannot enter the kingdom of heaven. And then you recognize that you are the Jesus Christ that you are looking for. You recognize that the power within you, the creative power, is that Holy Spirit that is spoken about, that is God doing the work through you. God is a very real thing. God is not real when you worship someone on the outside, because then when that time comes, when that moment comes and you recognize this, you know what I mean? You'll understand what it means by, "I do not recognize you. I do not know you. Get away from me." You'll understand because that whole time, maybe through your first spiritual awakening, you have gone around and used the creative power, just like I did, to manifest jobs, this, that, and the other. And you may have also used it to go back into your habits of being held hostage to an organized religion and believing in that external person, that one person that is greater than you. And if things fail, you turn around and say, well, why would they fail? Didn't I do this in your name? Didn't I do that in your name? Didn't I help this person in your name? Didn't I? No, you didn't. You went to an external figure. But you'll recognize this in your second spiritual awakening because, like I said, you will go through the whole breakdown of your natural physical body and recognize and start building and growing spiritually, expanding spiritually, and creating the spiritual body that you truly are. And then you will recognize this and you'll be able to speak on this from that perspective. But it will take some time from your first spiritual awakening. And usually, in your first spiritual awakening, when you fall back into your routine and your habit or contraction, as I should say, you will have very many spiritual glimpses. You will have retained some stuff like the manifestation things of the Bible or your first spiritual awakening. You will recognize them, whether you're using the Bible or not, you will recognize them. And you will recognize that that creative power is working within you. But still, the confusion and the commotion and all the nonsense of the world will still be an interference to you. And you may find yourself throwing your hands up in the air and saying, well, didn't I do this in your name? And didn't I do that in your name? And didn't I do this in your... And then all of a sudden, you come to that second spiritual awakening and you recognize the Jesus Christ that you are. It has now appeared to you what you are. He has now appeared and you are just like him. And you recognize that all along, that power and throwing your hands up in the air, kicking and screaming and whatnot, was you not identifying with the revelation now and the second coming that is revealing itself to you, of you. And you recognize you were the Christ of God walking in the world to coming and becoming the Jesus Christ that you are looking for. The second coming is not one single person separated from all of humanity that is greater than all, and he has the magic touch and the magic potion to take you off to Never Never Land. No, that is the fairy tale concocted and told from the platform of organized religion, whether knowingly concocted or unknowingly, and not having seen and had any revelation whatsoever, and treating it as an actual history, which it's not. It's not historical. It's not a historical or anything to do with historicity. It is the present moment. Everything in your Bible, everything preached from the platform of organized religion is all about the present moment. It's all about unity. It's inclusive. It's all inclusive, to be honest with you. It is not one man separated. It is written in the way of a story to show you that you are that one man. You are that one woman. You are that one person. And you always have to identify from the one person that you have separated from yourself and you worship and bow down to. You have to recognize that that is you. There is no external or separate outside person. And as I said, whether it's taught knowingly, if it is taught knowingly, let me reword this. If it is taught knowing the truth, then it is deception. And you are being held hostage to a fear. And that fear is what rules you. And you give your power away and believe that some external person is going to help you. With the knowledge of what a second spiritual awakening, the second coming truly is, then it hasn't been seen yet. And it is part of the amnesia and the sleep in the world. And it's to be that way and it's to stay that way because even from the platform of organized religion, someone in the crowd, someone in the gathering could very well have a spiritual awakening. You don't know. Someone may be on the cusp of having a spiritual awakening, and then all of a sudden they hear something in their obligation to this world of organized religion, and all of a sudden see it. My friend that I was speaking to in a Zoom conversation who told me about when it happened for him some 40 years later, he was a Baptist minister. And when it happened for him, he couldn't speak about it. The church didn't want anything to do with that kind of nonsense. They didn't believe it, and they didn't want to have that kind of curriculum at play. And it would disturb their politics and their mandate, right? So he left the church altogether. He has a YouTube channel now, and his platform is speaking on the non-dual Christian message. In other words, he's talking about oneness. He's talking about the one Jesus Christ that every single person is, the one God that works through us. We are in, he is in us, and all of that. And there's no separation. There is no superhuman one external person on the outside of us. We are all equal. We are all a collective. And the collective itself, humanity, is the Christ of God, walking to the awakening of the Jesus Christ that they are when he appears. And when he appears means when that second coming happens into your life. It is foolish and nonsense to believe, as it has been believed over the years, in 2,000 years now, that someone is coming back and never comes back. There is no coming back once your life has been expired. You have an expiration date, and once it's expired, you don't come back. Once it's done, it's done. There's no coming back. So someone who had this kind of impact on a society or a group of people 2,000 years ago, once their life expired, they don't come back. The whole New Testament is a whole revealing of spiritual awakening. And spiritual awakening can only happen to flesh and blood. It can only happen in the natural world, in your physical body, that you experience what you truly are, your divine body, your immortal body. It cannot happen. You cannot have a spiritual awakening when you're spiritual. It's just silly. It's stupid. It's nonsense. Your spiritual awakening happens in the natural world. It happens in your natural self. It happens to your physical self, which is a representation of your spiritual self. But it happens in the physical. That's how the awakening takes place. Even this Jesus Christ spoken of in your New Testament that leads people in organized religion to make him divine and whatnot, was having this experience in the physical form. So he was a man or a woman, a person. He was a person, no different than you, having a spiritual awakening. There's many passages in the New Testament where you see multiple Jesus Christs, and even Jesus Christ asking for more Jesus Christ helpers to be sent to help and whatnot. It was an awakening. It was people who had discovered the Jesus Christ, God that's in them, was working through them, had awakened in them, and was no different than them, and one and the same. It's all about unity. But that unity doesn't happen in spirituality. When you are your spiritual self, you can't awake a spiritual person because they are you. There is only one person. There's only one spirit, I should say. But your physical self can attempt to awake another physical person to a spiritual awakening and let them know that they are spirit and they are spiritual. But it all happens in the physical world. Therefore, what's documented and told as a story and presented in a way to look at as one person separate from everybody else in the world is always you. And it is always you in awakening to the Jesus Christ that you truly are. A spiritual person cannot wake up another spiritual person. A spiritual person can help refresh that person's spirit because you're still part of the physical world and you're still going to get bogged down with all the confusion and stuff. And it's good for someone who is spiritual to help you and guide you. They are support. But once you're spiritual, there is no one that can wake you up because you are the woken up that you have been looking for. So all of this takes place in the physical form. Therefore, a physical body must pass away, must expire, and a physical body cannot return. The second coming is a second spiritual awakening. This is why you don't hear very many people talking about, especially on YouTube platforms and especially on the internet and social media platforms, about a second spiritual awakening. Because most of these platforms have been kind of hijacked by young people who get a glimpse here and there, young people who deceive other people through understanding the concept of spirituality, never having had a spiritual experience, but think they can speak on it in order to grow their platform, which is no different than the church. So they're looking for a subscriber base in order to grow this organized religion of deceit. A second spiritual awakening, a lot on these platforms here, you'll never hear about it because, as I said, they're young people, and they're either deceiving you and telling you they've had a second spiritual awakening, or they're sticking to the first spiritual awakening they had and telling you about manifestation principles and still drawing your attention to all sorts of symbolism, synchronicities, pareidolias, and whatnot, and stuff like that, to and calling them signs and taking you off to the third and 10th and 50th dimensions and whatnot. And that's what you're hearing. All of that is a combination and a mixture of complete and utter nonsense. Some of it is absolute spiritual awakening, and some of it is just jargon and nonsense to deceive people from a different perspective. Rather than speaking, say, like I do about the Bible and God and Jesus Christ, they'll speak of some like alien creature from another planet that has visited them. They'll speak about some sort of archon or some sort of other entity or something like that. It's a mixture and a combination of nonsense that's not read carefully, not explained carefully, and most of all, not having had any personal self-actualization or experiential understanding to be able to talk through the experience of, say, a dream, a revelation, a vision, and whatnot. It is highly unlikely that maybe 90% of these platforms, because there is some older people talking out there. I just haven't heard the older people talk about a second coming. But there is some people, older people out there who do have platforms to speak. But 80 to 90% of the platforms out there are young people. And I do not believe a young person has had a second spiritual awakening. If they've had a second spiritual awakening early on in their life, let's say they had their first one at 20 years old, and then they claim at 30 years old to have had a second spiritual awakening, I guarantee you they will not make it to 50. They will not make it to 50, because your second spiritual awakening, the second coming, is your exit from the world. It is the preparation and the expansion and growth and understanding of the Jesus Christ that you truly are. And you're growing in it every day, staying long enough in the world to speak about these experiences, to help other people who come into them, and then you are gone. It is impossible, in my eyes and my opinion, and don't be fooled, please, by people in their mid 20s or mid 30s or even early 40s telling you that they've had a second spiritual awakening. The second coming is your second spiritual awakening, and you will know it. As I said, it's very profound and it's very revealing. And for probably a period of time, maybe 3.5 years, it is going to be complete and utter chaos that I would suggest that you find maybe someplace quiet, some kind of a retreat, not with people, on your own, and and work through what is happening to you. You're going to have to deal with a lot of anger, a lot of issues, a lot of looking back, a lot of memories. You're going to have to confront a lot of things. And this is the horrible, terrible, tormenting fire of judgment that you will go through. At the same time, you will increase in your knowledge and understanding and power, and the power of God that works through you. And you will face very, very many obstacles, some with difficulties to some with ease. And then it gets easier and easier and easier, where you find yourself, you are in the one that is in control. And there is nothing of the elements or the world that you once lived in that can affect you. You control it all. You create it all. You see it all from within you, that it is a reflection of the change that you have now taken on and have become aware of and truly understand that you are looking back at you. I don't know what else to say about it. I just think that, you know what, please be careful. Organized religion either knows what they're doing and deceiving you on purpose, or they do not know what they're doing, and it's the blind leading the blind, to be honest with you. And I think it's the latter, because I truly believe that God knows what he's doing, or God knows what it's doing. Let's put it that way, to include both male and female in the equation. I don't think that the Bible should have such a narrative, masculine narrative, to be honest with you. It should, especially when it speaks about the collective and including all. And in John chapter 4, verse 24, John's Jesus Christ says, God is a spirit. So when you're identifying spirit, it's best to just say it, because it includes what you are, the male and the female, and every single person and everything in this world. God is a spirit and must be worshipped in spirit and in truth. So be careful and understand that there is a gap between your first spiritual awakening and the second coming, which is your second spiritual awakening. I wish everyone to have it in this world. If you don't, there is one other thing that I've heard people talk about that I haven't experienced, because I've experienced two of them, where they come to a spiritual awakening and they automatically know it and get it right away, immediately. And they don't need a second spiritual awakening. They don't need spiritual glimpses. They are in complete control and constantly expanding and contracting, growing and coming back to reality, growing spiritually, coming back to reality, having spiritual glimpses, carrying on in the world, having spiritual glimpses, carrying on in the world. Every spiritual glimpse is an energetic charge to the body that allows it to grow spiritually and allows yourself the understanding and the knowledge and the wisdom of what is actually taking place in you, to have the experience of it, that you can testify of the experience of it, that it is coming from you. And it's also doing away with every single belief system, especially the belief system of someone who is greater than all, when we are all equal. We are all one. We do not all have spiritual awakening at the same time, but when it is our time, we recognize the unity and the oneness that is God, and we are it. Again, in closing, I don't know. Is the church deceiving you? Possibly. Does the church know that this is actually the second coming? They might not. And it just may be a narrative and something in the world of amnesia, and it's the blind leading the blind. But in all honesty, there are two spiritual awakenings. And the first one is union with God. The second one is your birth from above. And it is the second coming, confirming your true and natural spiritual identity. It does not yet appear what we shall be, but we do know when he appears, we shall be just like him. He will appear in here. He will not appear on the outside. Remember, flesh and blood have expiration dates. They do not return as flesh and blood. And a spiritual person cannot awake a spiritual person. Spiritual awakening happens to the physical person. It has to be a physical person that has a spiritual awakening. A spiritual person can be a support and a strength, and kind of like a battery, charge the other spiritual person. But there's no need for a spiritual person to awake a spiritual person. There's only the need to energize them. In other words, support them. Give them strength, give them courage. But all spiritual awakening, first one, union with God, and second one, birth from above, the second coming, happen in the physical body. Therefore, if it is a physical body, how can it be separated from you? How can you give your power over to someone else when you are just like them, a physical body? This is Nick. This is Tea Talk. I'll see you guys next time.